Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Furry Times podcast. This one's entitled Death and My First FurCon. I know it sounds kind of strange, but that's how it was a death that led to my very first FurCon, and I'd like to tell you the story. Let me take you back to the fall of 2012. I was living with my brother back then. Although I had been in the furry fandom for quite a while, nobody knew I was a furry, and I was combination reluctant to tell my brother, but I really wanted to go to MFF that year. You see, I have a friend who has, ever since we first met, has always have invited me to go to MFF with him, and I was actually thinking about going until events took place that changed everything. It began in September of that year. My brother was going to the store like usual. We walked. Neither one of us drove. And he had an accident where he hurt his knee pretty bad. He went to the doctor later, but the doctor told him to rest his knee. Of course, that's what my brother told me. I now believe that's probably wasn't the exact truth. What happened, well, I had to tend to his knee, pretty much. And I told my friend again that year I wasn't going to go. But little did I realize this was the beginning of the end for my brother. What happened was, beginning January of all things, no, I take that back, December, where he went for some minor surgery on his colon. The doctors told me to keep an eye out. It doesn't look too bad, just keep an eye out for it. But my brother never filled me in. And he got progressively worse after that. By, I would say, probably March or April of 2013, he was spending more time in the hospital than he was at home. And he was just getting progressively weaker. There were times he couldn't stand without assistance. And there were times his legs would just give out on him, and that's when he had me call the paramedics. And he was go back to the hospital, which by February, he was spending more and more time in the hospital. By March, he was in the hospital more times than he was at home. Well, it was also during this time we were talking about moving. We had some difficulty with our landlord, and I think they wanted us out as much as we wanted to move. It took with some difficulty. I did find a place, and my brother and I did see it, and we had by April arranged to get everything signed, put the paperwork through, wait to hear back, and should be moving in sometime in May if everything all went well. Well, I did what I had to do. Meanwhile, my brother, I swear, during the time when I was waiting to hear back from my landlord whether the place was approved, he was maybe home like 3 or 4 days during all that time. And then when the place was and we could move in, I got the keys and started to move some stuff in there myself, he was actually in the hospital. Well, I tried arranging with a friend to start moving the stuff, but that had to be postponed twice because my brother was in the hospital. And then when he did go, he wasn't here very much. We got back, we got over here. He had just basically sat down, and I did all this stuff around here. And then he went back to the hospital again. During the entire month of May, my brother would only spend 5 days in our apartment. I kid you not, 5 days. And I will always remember that. Well, by the end of May, he was in the hospital so long. I have another friend who we've both known since he was a kid, who kept on asking me, why is your brother been in the hospital so damn much? Well, question I like to answer myself. My friend has a little bit of an in. He's also a pastor, a licensed pastor with the church, which church he had in Chicago back then. It has since folded. Well, he went down there one day to visit my brother. Seemed he was in bad shape. The doctor says he couldn't talk about it because my brother had refused permission. My friend called me up directly and asked me to come and visit my brother in the hospital. I discovered my brother was in intensive care. That was the first shock. Then, on top of everything else, the doctor said he was bound because my brother said he didn't want the information shared, which was horrible. And it was a combination of me, my friend, and just plain begging on my part that my brother gave permission. He nodded, and I was told what was really going on for the first time. My brother had terminal bile duct cancer. If you don't know what bile duct cancer is, think colon cancer, but worse. And his condition was terminal. It'd be shortly after that my brother would be going into hospice to die. I mean, my friend did offer to drive me home, but I just wanted to just kind of sit back and kind of absorb all what happened. I was in shock. Still don't know how I got home. Next thing I knew, I was back here. Later, I would get a phone call from my brother asking to send for a phone. Which, I got him one. I had a T-Mobile service then, so I got him an extra T-Mobile phone. What happened, well, put it this way. Never, and I mean never, go with what facility a hospital suggested when you have a friend or relatives that need to go into hospice. This place they recommended, and there is a review on Google under Amar Wolf that names the place, but I will not name it in this podcast. The staff there were nothing but thieves. They stole my brother's cell phone and a second one I'd got for him later, a track phone, all his personal belongings. So I would say, if you have a friend or relatives going into hospice, do not go to the place that the hospital recommends. What you do is you check the reviews. I wish I did, because they didn't even apologize when all my brother's stuff was gone after he died. Well, I'm also grateful my brother never knew about the issues I was having at the same time. I may have trouble at work. I didn't know I was going to be able to keep my job. Some trouble came up with paperwork around my apartment. Something didn't get signed. Something got confused. I mean, none of this would be straightened out until November of that year. And by then, my furry friend, asked me once again about would I go to MFF, which I eventually agreed to. And, well, don't get me wrong. MFF is a great convention. I have not missed a convention there from 2013 all the way up to 2019. In fact, the only reason I stopped going is because of the pandemic. And the convention was not being held, of course. But my first convention there, there were furries and I should say fursuiters sitting outside the hotel. I didn't know what to make of them. Yeah, I mean, this is from a guy who runs a furry news site. I didn't know what to make of them. And inside it was like I was scared, nervous, overwhelmed, all at the same time. But I instantly ran into my friend who escorted me to registration. I got my badge. And then after I got my badge, which thankfully didn't take very long. Of course, it was a lot less crowded back then. we went over to get ready for the fursuit parade. The only photos I would take of that convention was the fursuit parade. I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. And then we went to the dealers artist area. My friend always gets a commission based on his persona. They're always nice. They're always nice commissions. And then we went to get something to eat. And after a while, looking around for a bit, we went to go see Floor Wars. It was when he went to use the restroom that I had a chance to talk to this fursuiter who was checking badges for Floor Wars that year. He told me, well, I'm put it this way, we talked for a little bit. And I told him about what was happening to me, and he told me of his first FurCon. Mind you, this is a fursuiter. He told me on his very first FurCon, all he did was look around, get his badge, looked around even further, then left. He was there exactly a half an hour. After Floor Wars, which was wonderful, by the way, I said goodbye to my friend, and I only had been there 3.5 hours. Why? Like I said, I was scared, nervous, and overwhelmed, not to mention, in need of more therapy about my brother's death, which I was getting at Gilda's Club at the time. And they really did help. And they applauded me for even going out, because they said most people wouldn't even step outside because of what happened to me. Cancer's a bitch. It really is. And I have essentially thrived. Although I didn't take much pictures at the convention the year later. Also, not really, well, I did spend maybe 6 hours down there. Okay, to tell you the truth, 4.5, maybe 5. But by 2015, I was actually able to do more. I spent the whole day down there. I enjoyed the convention. Of course, by then I had a babysitter for my dog. Well, who doesn't consider pets babies? Well, now for the reason behind this. My dog passed away back in December of 2020, which got me thinking about doing this podcast. I know this is not the greatest thing on earth, and why I'm talking about something that was so horrible and so tragic. Maybe I hope it gives inspiration to someone who is going through a rough time and they really need something to cheer them up. I mean, my standard trip to the MFF is I go there Friday, get my badge, look around, do some panels. Then Saturday I meet up with my friend. We do what he wants, and I hopefully go to a few panels that I really want to enjoy. But Sunday is my day. I go to do some panels, go to the fursuit games, which I absolutely love. Then enjoy the day. Maybe some panels, some are interest to me, and then the closing ceremony. And then I go home. It's hard to believe that you just miss sitting around watching fursuiters walking past or getting hugged by fursuiters. But you do. I really do. I think we're all got a touch of post-con depression by now. Not so much post-con, but we miss our conventions. We want to get out and do things again. I mean, it ain't easy, and a pandemic has made things a lot worse than they would be normally. I mean, we're talking about limited occupancy, mask required, fully vaccinated. I mean, I don't know how this year is going to turn out. I don't even know if MFF is even going to happen. We just have to wait to see what what exactly happens. And I really can't say. And I don't want to say because I just don't know. But I hope this helps somebody. Anyway, till next time, this is the Mar Wolf.